Hello, I'm Cassandra Lee and welcome to Logistics Executive TV. I'm the Global Managing Partner of our Executive Search and HR Consulting Division. And today I'm joined by Malcolm Druce, who is the Managing Partner of BPS Global. Malcolm, welcome.
Hi, Cassandra.
Thanks for joining us today. And we're going to have a bit of a chat about automation, what's happening in the world, some of the different things that people can be doing. It's obviously an area where people are making massive inroads and a lot of investment, but there also has been a significant amount of development for a good 15 years now. So give us a bit of a heads up about BPS Global, what you guys are doing and some of the projects you're working on.
Well, BPS Global, we're part in Australia of an Asia-wide organisation based in Hong Kong. We're the Australian franchise. But BPS Global designs automated distribution centres, sources the components from all over the globe, installs, commissions, and services and maintains. So we go on the journey with our clients all the way through from I think I've got a problem to here's your solution and here's how we keep it running for you into the future. So our focus is around optimising the efficiency of distribution centres and positioning our clients for future growth in what is a really challenging labour market.
Yeah, very much so. And so with BPS, are you guys working agnostically across brands and different platforms, or okay, so if somebody's already got something, you can tag into it and expand it and evolve it and future proof it?
Yep, absolutely. And we're completely steel agnostic. We analyse what the problem is, agree with it, where the client wants to go, and we find the best solution that suits their budget, their operations, and the problems that they're or issues that they're facing. And we find that independence gives us access to a lot more great tools and gadgets. And the good thing about the industry we're in at the moment is that as you've alluded to, the development of automation, the number of players that are coming into the market with some wonderful pieces of kit, it's just absolutely exploding. So we try and resist the temptation to chase the bright, shiny toys and look for the combination of components that gives the best overall outcome for our clients as they progress through their supply chain development journey.
I think that's the real sweet spot, is sort of understanding where someone's at, what their objectives actually are, what they have that you can utilise and how you can evolve that and piece it together for them, and and even sort of stage it, not just financially, but in terms of what is actually going to give them yield right now and then for the future that they can continue to grow into. That's where they would get certainly a lot more return on their investment. And I think the fulfilling factor when you from a consulting perspective, when you're helping an organisation do what's right to build them on that journey, becomes a lot more satisfactory from your side of it.
It's a huge buzz. It's why we exist. We love to see that transformation process in place and evolving, and we love to see the end outcome, and we love to see companies go on that journey. And quite often you see all these light bulbs going on with the executives. Oh, I get it. Now I understand. So informing, educating, bringing companies through that process is extremely enjoyable and fulfilling. It probably why I haven't got too much hair, but it's also really a good thing to do. It can be quite stressful at times, but at the end of the day, if we can deliver the solution that allows our clients to move forward and optimise and gain greater efficiency, and at the same time educating and informing, well, we've done a good thing.
Absolutely. I guess one of the first mega projects that I ever sort of came across was nearly 15 years ago with the Nike China Logistics Centre. So back in those days, any automation was a massive investment, huge scale. You had, DCs that are 15 football fields and in terms of size and equivalence and all this type of thing. And it was bigger than Ben-Hur. And while that was so cool being able to see something to that scale, I don't think everyone understands how small a solution can actually be when you put in this automation, but how significant the return that it can be for the smaller organisations. So, tell us some of the projects that at that sort of size, for people who are like, well, I don't think I'm big enough, but because of the cost of labour and inflation and all those types of things, putting some automation in a DC, no matter how small your storage area actually is, would really give them a significant yield. Has there been a lot of projects in and around that space more recently, or things that are on the radar?
Yes, there are, and we actually like working with small to medium organisations because there are incremental changes that they can make in process and automation, not necessarily robotics, that can yield big outcomes for 4 or 5, 3 million Australian dollars.
Yeah,
I think we've
it's a
got
sizable amount of money these days. Like, every cent helps, right? So if you're an SME and you can save $3 million, in staff wages over a couple of years with just efficiency gains, that's the difference between bankruptcy and profitability in some cases.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And it's interesting, we've seen in Australia some very large projects over the years, as you've mentioned, a big one in China. We've seen some massive projects for the big grocery retailers and really given them some wonderful outcomes. But we've also seen some smaller projects that have just provided incremental benefits. And we kind of like to step through a process of benefits. Some organisations are quite happy to invest 3 or 4 years and have a big bang and off they go. That's great. And I admire that approach. But I think for smaller organisations, lower entry point, just do it progressively. We want to target this percentage productivity increase. When we get that bedded and settled, we'll then go to the next challenge and the next challenge. And what happens is you incrementally increase that automation and increase that opportunity for ongoing efficiency. And that's kind of the way we like to do it. I have 2 partners in Australia, and one of them is a fellow called Bruce Drayton, who has been in the industry for nearly as long as me, and he actually has less hair than me, so probably a lot more stress on him. But,
really.
Bruce has been able to maintain 10+ year relationships with companies by coming in, solving the immediate problem, providing incremental change, and then continuing to say, we've delivered the benefit, now let's work on something else, and let's work on something else and something else again. And it's interesting, when we all started, I was reminiscing yesterday with my other partner, David Aldridge. We both worked for a company called PGA Logistics in the 90s, and David and a fellow called Bryce Ferguson and a couple of other guys from PGA designed and built the distribution centre in Victoria for Smith Snack Foods, which was the first paperless case pick DC in Australia in 1990. Wow. And David was saying yesterday that that cost about $1 million in capital. We had forklifts with RF terminals on them. We had 8 or 10 lanes of sortation. We had 2 layers of pick-to-light systems and conveyor. Fantastic. And we were reminiscing about how interactive that system was and how much value that provided to the people who worked in the place. So I took over from David in 1991 for a couple of years, and he and I have been mates ever since.
Yeah.
But I was reminiscing how I got to the point where we'd have the people on the floor, the forklift operators and the pickers, they'd come in and belt my door down and say, we've been thinking away how this process works, and we think if you do this, we could have a better productivity out of the system and we could tweak it up this way. So I kind of learned early on that regardless of the organisation size, there's a really good message that whatever you do to improve can be a very interactive and positive experience, and also an opportunity to develop the capability and skills of the people that you have in your organisation. So that creates, I guess, added value for your people. And again, there's a multiplier effect in the value for your organisation. And pretty important, I think, that you balance up all of those elements as you move forward.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. It is. Yeah. It's when people sort of really embrace that change from the teams that are there and see the value that you're actually providing to them to be able to do their jobs more effectively and more efficiently, and they resonate with that. And it comes back to the values of an organisation. You're either really trying to advance and evolve and grow your business, but in a sustainable and balanced approach. Or some cases, we're going brand new and, we have the capital injection, or we've been fortunate enough to receive, manufacturing grants to push some of the exports, and the demand is just, skyrocketing. So you need to sort of make some rapid changes, but it runs the gauntlet in between. Irrespective, it comes back to the people who are actually operating it. What are they trying to achieve? How do we support them on that journey with all of the tools that are available? What is appropriate? And that becomes like the real sort of telling sign. It's not just sort of selling your particular brand or the latest thing. It's about what is actually going to deliver yield today, tomorrow, and into the future. So with sort of, with that in mind, what some of the, I guess, the key trends that you're seeing internationally as some of the, the new cool stuff that's sort of coming out that can be dovetailed into existing systems, or is relatively easy for people to be able to plug and play? Is there anything that's on the horizon that people should be aware of or to be looking out for in the next 12 to 18 months if they're thinking about investing in this space?
No, the plug and play is a very interesting one. There's a lot of, as we've said, a lot of really great equipment coming out onto the marketplace. Where I think we've got some emerging opportunities is that space in between the equipment and the host systems.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of advancements in that area where you have what I would call a warehouse control system.
Yeah.
How you how you get individual pieces of equipment talking to your either warehouse management system or your ERP is a really neatly evolving space. I can see a little bit of artificial intelligence coming into that, and I can see some opportunities for artificial intelligence within the equipment. We've seen coming out of India some very smart AI working with standard security cameras within distribution centres to do things like, over time, predict where forklift accidents are likely to occur.
Yeah.
I guess, move away from things like barcode scanners to capturing images that not only photograph labels, but also dimension and check picking accuracy in totes and open cartons. So I think that's heading in the right direction. I can also see in some circumstances we have things like sortation robots that take away the need for long lines of very expensive conveyor that pick up items and off they go and build pallets as they go. So I think those sorts of moving away from fixed infrastructure to mobile infrastructure is going to be developing more and more. We've also seen the emergence of follow me robots. Many of those around Fordex, Locust, both companies doing extremely well with that sort of technology. And that's really good to see. So when you're moving away from fixed infrastructure into more mobile infrastructure, and you have the ability to get as close as possible to plug and play between that infrastructure and your host systems, then you're making it a lot easier for organisations to move into that space. There's a caveat in all of these things, and it's a bit of a sleeper. Very difficult to retrofit a lot of robotics and automation into older distribution centres. The things like ceiling heights, pardon me, and the quality and flatness of floors becomes a lot more critical. I think for new builders, there's a lot more work being done with those builders and developers around, here's the specifications we need, because at some point in the future, we are going to need a floor of this particular flatness and specifications, so that as we move into automation, we don't have to go and fill up holes here and there, and we're not restricted by the fact that our building can't do what we want our automation to do.
I certainly agree with that. The consulting side of our business has, had quite a lot of work with the REITs and and the landlords and construction firms just going, okay, well, what, to get these things ready to build a logistics park so it is what do we need to put in it so it's done with the design and the constructor, and that, there's sensors everywhere, and these, because some of this tech is now so affordable, it just becomes a baseline that no one's going to lease the building if these things aren't there, because the cost of trying to retrofit it, even for a relatively new build, is just money that doesn't need to be spent. It should be done when we're building them new, and so that onus really is going back, onto the build, and then the landlords, to make sure that these things are there so that people can just come in and roll with it, because that's the expectation. It needs to be done. And anything else that is significantly old, it's more affordable to pull it down and rebuild it, unfortunately, and recycle all of that material where you can, rather than trying to fix floor levels or put in sensors and the amount of cabling that needs to go in, and the floor height or ceiling heights and all of the rest of it. I couldn't agree more that is a very strong recurring theme.
We've seen a lot of development in that area. The larger industrial property rental organisations are setting up supply chain divisions. They're more mindful of this. We've seen the rise and enormous success of companies like TMX, who are combining that property and supply chain component together to deliver a more rounded and complete solution. So that I think we're moving in the right direction. It also says a lot more collaboration between the various elements that go into making up a successful distribution centre, rather than someone coming in and saying, I'll rack what you've got, or I'll throw some robots in and I'll educate the people and you're fine. I think there's a lot more moving parts, if you like, in the various suppliers that go towards making a successful outcome and a successful solution.
Which is good to see. Supply chain is all about collaboration right across your business with your suppliers, upstream, downstream, from your customers, all of that. It's such a core tangent of the nucleus of what a supply chain actually is. So seeing it now become the norm on this side of it, and people leveraging that expertise is finally actually delivering yield for everybody. And, and good people seek out good people, right? So you get that collaboration and the sharing to go, well, this is what you need, or, these are the REITs that are actually going through and building logistics parks with this in mind. They get it. They know how to build and they know what they're doing, but they understand what you need. And that's just, part and parcel of what it is. So then that, it just creates that demand, because it makes life a lot easier for everybody else touching it.
It does. And as an industry, we've been talking about collaboration, since Adam was in short pants. But we're now, I think, getting to the point where we're not adversarial. I remember, or even short pants, I shouldn't push one way or the other. Again, going back to the Smiths snack foods in the early 90s. PGA was a 3PL. So I used to deal with the distribution manager at Smiths in Victoria, and he had a cost budget. I had a profit budget. They were never going to meet until we actually sat down and we said to each other, well, this is stupid. We're headbutting each other all the time about, you drop your rates. No, I need more money. Sit down and work it out. Let's work off a common budget, and that way we take that argument out of the equation, and then we can focus on the things that collaboratively push our business in the right direction. So I think, to me, it's that collaboration is becoming more and more critical, particularly when you're moving into more sophisticated technology, more sophisticated equipment, more sophisticated solutions to drive efficiency, and it's a good thing. About the time.
And I think particularly with the macroeconomic environment, how volatile that is, and just increasingly so, the need to collaborate and have the shared values is absolutely critical. So, choosing partners who get that and will take accountability to work with you becomes an instrumental piece to being able to make sure that, one, you can deliver on time and on budget, and you're actually going to get the yields. But you're dealing with people who are invested in what your outcomes actually are. So it doesn't matter how large your organisation is or how small. It can be the most innocuous little business that you sort of think like, I can't really get a lot of gains out of it. Well, quite often they're the ones that get more significant gains in terms of percentages and dollar value to then be able to reinvest in other parts of their businesses or to do things, or can leverage the relationships that they will come across from these things a lot more significantly than some of the big, bright, shiny new projects that are out there that, they get all the press and the attention. But, it's they're not necessarily the ones that are the backbone of particular economies or being able to drive particular sectors to keep the flow of goods moving. And there is never a shortage of demand that sort of comes with good organisations leveraging together and being able to collaborate. And we're all around in the GFC. We saw how critical it was that the right people, the right practitioners were sought out to solve these problems, because there's a lot of jargon in our space and there's a lot of people who can say the jargon but haven't delivered it and can't deliver it when things are really tough and tight. So it becomes critical to get that alignment of people going, this is what I think you should do. If you choose me to do it, great. If you don't, so be it. But that is, in my professional opinion, what I think you need to be spending your money on. And that's where the value really starts to resonate. So good to see that you guys are certainly concurring with that theme and, and have been working on some amazing projects right across Asia Pacific. The laundry list of things that you guys are involved in and the success that has come from those gains is phenomenal. So how do people reach out to you to get more information, to be able to have a chat and just sort of, basically share where they're at and and what their problems are, and then start to see if there's solutions that can be provided?
Well, there's some contact details through the website. I'm on LinkedIn as well, as are my two partners, and certainly outside Australia, our organisation in Hong Kong is contactable through the same usual methods.
Perfect.
Probably not a good idea to splatter my telephone number across your interview, but I'm happy.
Not for this one, yeah. We'll tag you in a few things, Malcolm. People can get you professionally. It's all right.
Yeah, that's fine. And we're happy to have a conversation. It's interesting, coming back to projects, Cassandra, you made a really, really good point there. And alignment between businesses is absolutely critical. We find that, and we've worked on some big projects, a very large healthcare facility in Taiwan, BPS Hong Kong was managed to win the fit out for the Advanced Manufacturing Centre in Hong Kong and won an award for that project. We've been working with retailers in Australia and both in the online space and in the bricks and mortar space. I think key message for us in our projects, there are any number of people who can provide services. And as you say, some good, some bad, varying degrees, all sorts of wonderful kit out there. You've really got to get a meeting of the minds before you get a project going, because if you don't remain aligned and heading towards the same goals, the moment you start to diverge, you've got a failure in your hands. And some of these projects, even though you might take them in small bites, from the time we start talking to an organisation to the time where we go live on a site, could be a couple of years. Yeah. A lot of data analysis. There's all sorts of work to be done in the background around design and options and pricings. And so you've got to be able to have a meeting of the minds and retain that common shared understanding, and it's a word that's bandied around a lot, but I guess an appreciation of each organisation's culture and finding that right professional fit. If you don't do that, your project is destined to fail.
Couldn't agree more.
Regardless of how good the equipment is.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Absolutely. Well, Malcolm, thanks so much for being able to share BPS Global with us today and the audience and what you guys have been doing in some of the projects. We'll certainly have you tagged and everything on LinkedIn so everyone can reach out to you and get your insights as to where they're at and follow that through. But again, thank you for joining us, and I look forward to seeing you very soon at another conference around. I'm quite sure we'll cross paths again.
Right. And thank you very much for the opportunity to have a chat. More than welcome to talk to anyone at any time.
Brilliant. I'm sure people will be taking you up on that very much so, even without the phone number. They'll reach out to you on LinkedIn. Thanks a lot, Malcolm. And we look forward to seeing our audience again on Logistics Executive TV.